I want to start by taking a look at some pictures. Now these pictures are all people that I went to high school with. We took classes together, we spent weekends together, we went to prom, we played on the same teams, we did college visits, we even studied abroad together. These are the people who were my friends, who I surrounded myself with for 18 years while I was in school. Now, when you look past all the goofy faces from kids just having fun with no real responsibilities, you can see that there aren't many differences between us. We were all white. We all came from middle-class families. We all had very similar values and upbringings. We weren't very different from one another. My high school had almost no diversity that I remember. I went to a school where even the principals and the teachers all looked like me. Now, while I had a really amazing time with my friends in high school, I didn't realize how I was being set up to interact with people who were different than I was. Because I was never exposed to it when I was in high school or when I was a kid, it was different and difficult when I had to do it. Even when I went to college, almost everybody looked like me. It wasn't until the summer after my freshman year of college that I was really forced to work and interact with people who were different than I was. I spent 2 summers in Los Angeles working for Johns Hopkins University with counselors from across the country and even the world. This experience was incredible, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. They were 2 of the best summers that I have ever spent in my life, and I learned so much. But they were really uncomfortable at first. I remember landing in Los Angeles and going for the first time and being uncomfortable because I was no longer the majority. So all of this background really got me to thinking about my upbringing. And how do my unconscious biases, based on where I grew up, influence my interactions when teaching diverse students? This is really important because I'm working with very diverse students right now. So to start with a definition of unconscious biases, these are social stereotypes about certain groups of people that individuals form outside of their own conscious awareness. So everybody can have these types of biases even without knowing it. Now, to really dig into this problem, I had to start with where I came from, where my roots are, and that's my family. So my family always taught us to be accepting and loving of everybody that crossed our paths, even if it didn't happen as much as I thought it did when I was a kid. Now, my parents taught us to always be accepting of everybody, but I wanted to know how my siblings felt about interacting with people of color based on where we came from. This started with Mary.
All right, so I kind of feel like where we grew up, I mean, it gave me a warped vision of diversity because it really wasn't diverse. I mean, at most, I'd say in high school we had 10, 20 kids that weren't white. So I didn't really learn much about diversity until I started working. And I was around a lot more people. But even then, it was mostly people that were black. It wasn't, a lot of Asian or, Indian, Arab. It wasn't a whole lot of that. It's just, I feel like it didn't really show me how diverse the world is, and Buffalo alone. Living in South Buffalo now, it's completely different. You see people from all different backgrounds and all different ethnicities, and you get to learn more about other people's cultures that way. And I feel like I wasn't really given that opportunity growing up in West Seneca. There was just not a lot of that. Okay, and how it influenced me is I didn't really know how to interact with other people. I didn't know the right terms to say and what might offend someone or what might be taken the wrong way, because I wasn't used to being around people, different ethnicities. So it didn't really show me how to interact with other people. It was just, I don't know what else to really say. It just
Hearing what Mary had to say made me feel a little bit better, like I wasn't alone in this. Because we are only a year and a half apart, we've lived very similar experiences. Now I wanted to hear from my brother John, who is a junior at University of Rochester.
Looked it up like my freshman year of college. I looked it up, the Orchard Park demographics, just because like I had an inkling, and it actually is like 97% white, I think. And so going to college was my first experience, like because it was like a really large international population on campus, and so it was my first experience being like that close to people that were actually from different cultures and different countries. And I think it was different. It was just different at first. I didn't realize how different it would be interacting with people that were from different cultures like that. And so I think I don't know. I feel bad saying it was a difficult adjustment, but like, to be honest, it was kind of a difficult adjustment at first. And of course I've learned over time that it's just, like they're just other people. And so there's no reason to act any differently. But there's definitely, I think, at least at first, there was definitely that kind of subconscious, you're different from me and your culture is different from mine, and so I'm not entirely sure I know how to properly interact with you. And so
Hearing how similar my story was to John's made me feel really interested and really upset that we hadn't talked about it sooner. But now I wanted to hear from Madison, who is the youngest of the four of us and about to go off to college in the fall for her freshman year in Albany.
Place is harmful to most people, but I mean, it gave me more of a drive to go out there and meet people who are different than me and to understand what it's like in other places of the world. And I don't know, it inspired me to travel the world and to meet new people and to get out of my comfortable bubble. And yeah.
Hearing Madison's response both shocked me and made me extremely hopeful. She's the only one out of the four of us who has not been forced out into the real world to interact with communities of color. So it makes me really excited that she's excited to be there and she's excited to experience diversity without worrying about saying or doing the wrong thing. So this really makes me think, what exactly does all of this mean for my teaching? Like I said before, I currently work in a very diverse setting. I work at one of the bilingual schools in Buffalo, where about 85% of the population are English language learners, and the majority of those are Puerto Rican. Not only is the student base very diverse, but so are the adults that work there. And these people have become my coworkers and my friends, like family. I just want to make sure that I am doing right by them, as well as by the kids. So what this really means for me is that I need to be more aware of my biases, and I need to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I feel like I try my best to interact as positively as possible with people who are different than I am, but I know that I can't change where I came from, and I can't change how I grew up, but I can change how I present myself in the world. For example, I was talking to a teacher a couple weeks ago, and I recorded the interaction because I was really upset with the way that I responded. she was talking about some students, and she was a very frustrated end of the year middle school teacher. And she made a comment about how these kids are lazy and they don't work hard and they're not going to amount to anything because they won't be able to keep a job and they're just going to end up being drug dealers. In the moment, I was so shocked and surprised that I didn't know what to say, so I said nothing. And even thinking about it now, it makes me really upset that I didn't do more. So now that I'm reflecting on some of my interactions and things that I've taken note of, it really makes me realize that I never want a kid to think that I think that of them, that I think that they won't amount to anything, and I never want them to think that I won't stand up for them. So I can never change where I came from, and I can't go back and change my background. But like I said, I can change where I'm going. And I'm vowing now to be more aware of the way that I feel and more aware of the things that I think, so that my interactions with students are genuine and they can tell that I care and love them and that I know that they can do great things in this world, even if others don't.